You know that moment when everything you thought you wanted suddenly feels incomplete? When the empire you're building, the legacy you're chasing, the wins that used to fill you up, when all of it starts to feel like background noise? That's where I am. And I need to tell you why. I used to believe success was the destination, that if I worked hard enough, sacrificed enough, built something big enough, I'd finally feel whole. But then you walked in, not into my life like some dramatic movie scene. No, you walked into my orbit and gravity shifted. Suddenly, every plan I made felt like it was missing the most important variable. You, not as an accessory to my vision, not as someone to fit into my world, but as the reason the world started making sense. So let me ask you this. Have you ever met someone who didn't just change your plans, but changed the entire reason you make them? Because that's what happened to me. And I need you to understand what that means. I spent most of my life operating like a machine. Input effort, output results, optimize, iterate, scale. I thought that's what it meant to be alive, to be constantly moving towards something bigger. And for a long time, it worked. I built things. I solved problems. I proved to myself and everyone watching that I could turn vision into reality. But here's what nobody told me. You can win every battle and still lose the war against loneliness. You can achieve everything on your list and still wake up feeling like something's missing. Not because you failed, but because you optimized for the wrong outcome. I was chasing milestones. She made me want mornings. I was building empires. She made me want breakfast conversations that stretched into afternoons. I was obsessed with legacy. She made me realize legacy means nothing if you have no one to live it with. And that's when everything I believed fell apart. Look at me for a second. I need you to understand this. I'm not saying she completed me like some romantic cliche. I'm saying she recalibrated me. She didn't fill a void. She revealed one I didn't know existed. The void wasn't in my achievements. It was in my presence. I was so busy becoming someone that I forgot to be someone. Do you know what I mean, don't you? You felt it. The quiet panic when you realize you've been running so fast that you forgot why you started running in the first place. She slowed me down, not by asking me to, not by demanding my time or attention, but by simply existing in a way that made everything else feel secondary. Suddenly, the next deal didn't matter as much as the way she laughed at something stupid I said. The next milestone didn't hit the same as watching her face light up when I remembered something small she mentioned weeks ago. She didn't change my ambition. She changed what I was ambitious for. Before her, I wanted to build something that mattered. After her, I wanted to build a life that felt like home. And those are not the same thing. Here's the shift. When you meet someone who changes everything, it's not because they give you something you didn't have. It's because they make you see what you already had and what you were ignoring. Time, presence, the ability to just be. Not performing, not optimizing, not proving. Yes, waffleness they're good. It's just being. I used to think presence was passive, that it was something you did when you were done working, like a reward for productivity. But that's the lie we tell ourselves. Presence isn't a break from the work. Presence is the work. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do, to sit with someone and not think about what's next, to listen without planning your response, to love without keeping score. She taught me that. Not with words, with patience. Wait, before you scroll, hear this. I'm not romanticizing her. I'm not saying she saved me. I'm saying she made me want to save myself. From the version of me that thought connection was optional. From the version that believed love was something you fit into your schedule instead of something you build your schedule around. Because, let's be honest, most of us treat love like a side project. We say it's important. We say it's everything. But then we live like it's negotiable, like it can wait, like the people we love will just understand, that they'll be there when we're finally ready, when the work slows down, when the pressure eases, when we've earned it. But here's the truth. Love doesn't wait. People do until they don't. And I almost became that story. The guy who had everything except the one thing that actually mattered. The guy who built monuments but couldn't build a moment. The guy who was so focused on the future that he missed the present entirely. She pulled me back, not by force, by gravity. That orbit metaphor I keep coming back to, it's real. When you meet someone who changes everything, they don't drag you off course. They become the course. They don't compete with your mission. They redefine it. Suddenly, success isn't about what you accomplish alone. It's about who you become together. And that terrified me because it meant letting go of control. It meant admitting I didn't have all the answers. It meant trusting someone else with the most fragile part of me, the part that doesn't have a plan, the part that just wants to be loved without having to earn it. Tell me, when was the last time you let yourself be loved without performing for it? I don't mean tolerated. I don't mean admired. I mean loved, seen, chosen. Not because of what you've done or what you can provide, but because of who you are when you stop trying so hard. She saw that version of me before I did. And instead of asking me to be more, she asked me to be present. That's the difference. That's the thing. It changed everything. Most people want you to be impressive. She wanted me to be honest. Most people want the highlight reel. She wanted the deleted scenes, the moments where I didn't have it together, the nights where I doubted everything, the conversations where I admitted I was scared. And she didn't flinch. That's when I knew this wasn't about romance. This was about truth. This was about finding someone who could hold your chaos and not try to fix it. Someone who could witness your mess and say, I'm still here. Because that's what love actually is. It's not fireworks and grand gestures. It's quiet certainty. It's knowing someone sees the worst of you and chooses to stay anyway. Not out of obligation, not out of pity, but out of belief. Belief that you're worth the patience, worth the presence, worth the risk. She believed in me before I deserved it. And that belief became the foundation of everything I'm building now. Not the business, not the vision, the life. The one where success isn't measured in outcomes, but in moments. The one where legacy isn't what you leave behind, but who you walk beside. So here's what I need you to understand. If you're reading this and you've met someone who makes you question everything, don't run from it. Don't rationalize it away. Don't tell yourself you'll deal with it later, because later is a lie we tell ourselves when we're too scared to choose now. Choose now. Choose presence. Choose the person who makes you want to stop running and start living, because everything changes when you do. You want to know what scared me most? It wasn't commitment. It wasn't losing my freedom or giving up my independence. It was this. What if I couldn't be the person she saw in me? Because she looked at me like I was already whole, and I knew I wasn't. I knew I was still learning, still breaking old patterns, still carrying wounds I hadn't fully healed, still defaulting to work when things got uncomfortable, still choosing distance when I should have chosen presence. But she didn't need me to be perfect. She needed me to be present, and that's harder. Perfection is a performance. Presence is a practice. I had to learn that. I had to unlearn the idea that love was something you achieved after you fixed yourself, that you had to show up polished, complete, ready. No, you show up broken. You show up uncertain. You show up with all your contradictions and say, this is me. Can you work with this? And if she says yes, if she really says yes, then everything changes. Not because the work is done, but because you're no longer doing it alone. That shift, that's what transforms you. Not the romance, not the chemistry, the partnership. The trust that someone will hold space for your growth without demanding you rush it. That someone will see you stumble and not interpret it as failure. She gave me that. And I didn't know how much I needed it until I had it. Here's what nobody tells you about meeting the right person. It doesn't make life easier. It makes it clearer. Suddenly, you can't hide behind excuses anymore. You can't blame the work. You can't blame the timing. You can't say, I'll love you better when things slow down, because things never slow down. You have to choose love in the chaos. You have to choose presence in the middle of the noise. And that's terrifying because it forces you to confront the truth. You've always had the time. You've always had the capacity. You just weren't sure anyone was worth reorganizing your life for. Well, until her. But here's what I learned. Reorganizing your life for someone isn't sacrifice. It's clarity. It's finally knowing what actually matters and building everything else around that. Not around meetings, not around milestones, around moments. The moments where she's laughing at something ridiculous and you realize you've canceled every plan just to stay in that sound a little longer. The moments where she's quiet and you don't need to fill the silence because her presence is enough. The moments where you mess up and instead of walking away, she leans in and says, let's figure this out. Those moments, they're not distractions from the mission. They are the mission. And that's the thing most people get wrong. They think love competes with purpose. But love is purpose. It's the gravity that keeps you grounded while you're reaching for the stars. It's the reason you want to build something that lasts, not just something that impresses. She didn't ask me to choose between her and my dreams. She became part of the dream, not as a passenger, as a co-pilot, as someone who believed in the vision but refused to let me lose myself in it. And that's rare. Most people will either worship your ambition or resent it. She did neither. She respected it. But she also held me accountable to something bigger. My humanity, my health, my peace. The parts of me I was willing to sacrifice for the sake of making it. She wouldn't let me sacrifice those parts, not because she needed me to be softer, but because she needed me to be sustainable. Have you ever had someone love you enough to protect you from yourself? That's what she did. And it wasn't comfortable because it meant facing the ways I was hurting myself in the name of productivity. The late nights I wore like badges, the burnout I treated as proof of dedication, the relationships I neglected because I thought success would make up for it later. She looked at all of that and said, this isn't strength, this is fear. And she was right. I was afraid that if I stopped moving, I'd stop mattering. That if I slowed down, I'd be left behind. That if I prioritized connection over achievement, I'd lose my edge. But the opposite happened. When I started prioritizing, her prioritizing us, I didn't lose my edge. I found my center, and that center made everything else sharper. My decisions, my focus, my energy. Because I wasn't running on anxiety anymore. I was running on purpose. And the purpose wasn't just to build. It was to build something worth coming home to. That's the shift. That's what changes everything. Before her, I was building monuments. Impressive, sure, but cold. Empty. After her, I started building a life. And a life requires warmth. It requires presence. It requires someone who reminds you that the point of success isn't to escape the present, it's to enjoy it. She reminded me of that every single day. Not by nagging, not by guilt, by simply being someone I didn't want to miss. Someone whose presence was more valuable than any opportunity I could chase. Do you know how rare that is? To meet someone who makes you rethink your entire definition of success. Most people chase status. She made me chase stability. Not financial stability, emotional stability. The kind that comes from knowing someone sees you, knows you, chooses you. Even on the days when you're not impressive. Even on the days when you're just human. That's trust. Real trust. Not the kind built on promises. The kind built on patterns. On showing up. On consistency. On choosing each other when it's inconvenient, when it's hard, when it would be easier to retreat into work or distraction or ego. She chose me through all of it, and that taught me how to choose her back. Because here's the thing about love. It's not a feeling you fall into. It's a discipline you practice. It's deciding every single day that this person matters more than your comfort, more than your pride, more than your need to be right. It's saying, I don't have all the answers, but I'm willing to figure it out with you. And when you do that, when you really commit to that, you stop trying to control everything. You stop needing to prove yourself. You stop performing and you start connecting. That's when the magic happens. Not the fairy tale magic, the real magic. The kind that happens when two imperfect people decide to build something honest. Something that doesn't look perfect from the outside, but feels true on the inside. We're building that me and her, not a fantasy, a foundation. And it's not built on grand gestures or perfect moments. It's built on mornings where we're both tired, but still make time for coffee. It's built on conversations where we disagree, but still listen. It's built on nights where everything's falling apart and we still choose to face it together. That's the kind of love that lasts. Not because it's easy, but because it's intentional. She didn't just change my life. She changed how I live it. She changed what I value, what I protect, what I'm willing to fight for. And the answer is simple. Her. Us. This thing we're building that doesn't have a name yet, but feels more real than anything I've ever created. So if you're wondering whether it's worth it, whether reorganizing your entire life for someone is too much, too risky, too impractical, let me tell you this. It's not too much. It's exactly enough. Because the right person doesn't ask you to shrink your dreams. They expand them. They make you realize that success without connection is just an expensive way to be lonely. And I refuse to be that story anymore. I need to tell you about trust. Not the concept, the practice. The daily, uncomfortable, soul-exposing practice of letting someone in when every instinct tells you to protect yourself. Because that's where the real transformation happens. Not in the romantic moments, in the vulnerable ones. I've built things most people only dream about. I've taken risks that terrified me. I've bet on myself when no one else would. But none of it required the kind of courage it takes to look at someone and say, I don't know if I'm enough, but I'm willing to try. That's what she asked of me. Not with words, with presence, with the way she stayed when I expected her to leave, with the way she saw through my defenses and didn't treat them like walls to break down, but as doors she was willing to wait beside until I was ready to open them. And I wasn't ready for a long time. I kept testing her. Not consciously, but I did. I pulled back to see if she'd chase. I got busy to see if she'd complain. I kept parts of myself locked away to see if she'd demand access. And every single time she did something I didn't expect, she just stayed. Not desperately, not conditionally. She stayed like someone who understood that trust isn't built in grand declarations. It's built in small, repeated choices. The choice to be patient, the choice to be consistent, the choice to show up even when I made it hard. And slowly, something in me shifted. I stopped testing. I started trusting. Not because she proved herself, because I finally understood that trust isn't about certainty. It's about faith. Faith that even if you show someone your mess, they won't use it against you. Faith that even if you admit you're scared, they won't see it as weakness. Faith that you can be humanfully, imperfectly human, and still be loved. She gave me that faith, and it changed how I move through the world.
But here's what nobody told me. Trusting someone else starts with trusting yourself. Trusting that you're capable of showing up. Trusting that you won't run when things get hard. Trusting that you can hold space for someone else's complexity without needing them to simplify for your comfort.
That's the real work. Not getting her to trust me, learning to trust myself with her. I've got this gate to lie because I've let people down before. Not out of malice, out of misplaced priorities, out of believing that love could survive on autopilot, out of thinking that if I was successful enough, impressive enough, ambitious enough, people would just stick around. But that's not how it works. People don't stick around because you're impressive. They stick around because You make them feel seen. And I wasn't seeing anyone. I was too busy being seen. She changed that. She made me realize that the strongest thing you can do isn't to build something that gets attention. It's to give attention. Real attention. The kind that doesn't check the phone. The kind that doesn't drift to the next task. The kind that says, right now, in this moment, you are the most important thing in my world. Do you know how hard that is to give someone your full attention in a world that rewards distraction? It's almost impossible, but it's everything. Because presence is the currency of love, not time. Presence. You can spend hours with someone and never truly be there. Or you can spend minutes and make them feel like they're the only person in the universe. She taught me that, not by demanding it, by modeling it. She was present with me in a way I'd never experienced. She listened like my words mattered. She remembered things I mentioned in passing. She noticed when my energy shifted. She asked questions that made me think. She created space for me to be uncertain, to be afraid, to be less than the version of myself I show the world. And in that space, I found freedom. The freedom to stop performing, the freedom to stop proving, the freedom to just exist as I am, without the armor, without the script, without the need to be anything other than honest. That's what trust gives you. Not safety from pain, but safety and vulnerability. The knowledge that even if you fall apart, someone will sit with you in the rubble and help you rebuild. She's done that for me more times than I can count. Wait, let me be specific. Because I think we throw around words like support and love without really explaining what they look like in practice. It was a night. One of those nights where everything I was working on felt like it was collapsing, where every decision I'd made seemed wrong, where I questioned whether I was cut out for any of this. And I didn't want to tell her because I thought I needed to be strong. I thought showing doubt would make her doubt me. But she knew. She always knows. She didn't try to fix it. She didn't offer solutions or platitudes. She didn't tell me it would be okay. She just sat with me in the silence, in the uncertainty. And she said, whatever happens, we'll figure it out. Not you'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
That's the difference. That's what partnership actually means. It's not someone cheering from the sidelines. It's someone in the arena with you. Someone who doesn't need you to have all the answers, because they're willing to search for them with you.
That night, I realized something. I'd been so afraid of burdening her with my struggles that I'd been carrying them alone. And that wasn't strength, that was pride. Pride disguised as protection. She didn't need me to protect her from my humanity. She needed me to share it. So I started sharing the doubts, the fears, the moments where I didn't feel like the confident, capable person everyone thought I was. And instead of seeing me differently, she saw me more clearly, and she didn't flinch. That's when trust becomes unshakable. When you reveal the parts of yourself you're most ashamed of, and the person across from you responds with, "Thank you for trusting me with that." Not judgment, gratitude, because vulnerability is a gift. It's saying, I trust you enough to be imperfect in front of you. And when someone receives that gift with care, it transforms the relationship from surface level to soul deep. We're soul deep now. Me and her. And it's terrifying and beautiful in equal measure. Terrifying because there's no hiding anymore. No pretending, no performing. She knows me, the real me, the one who doesn't have it all figured out, the one who's still learning, still growing, still making mistakes, but beautiful because I'm not alone in it. Because growth isn't something I have to do in isolation anymore. It's something we're doing together. We're learning how to love better, how to communicate clearer, how to hold space for each other's evolution without needing the other person to stay stagnant. That's the kind of relationship that doesn't just survive, it thrives because it's built on truth, on mutual respect, on the understanding that love isn't about finding someone perfect. It's about finding someone committed to growing alongside you. Apolonic. She's committed, I'm committed, and that commitment has reshaped everything. My priorities, my boundaries, my definition of success, my vision for the future. Because now the future isn't just about what I'm building professionally. It's about what we're building together. A life, a home, a foundation strong enough to weather anything. Not because we're perfect, but because we're honest. Honest about our limitations, honest about our needs, honest about the fact that love is work, but it's the kind of work that makes you better, stronger, more whole. And I'm grateful for that work. I'm grateful for her. I'm grateful for the way she's challenged me to become someone who doesn't just chase success, but someone who creates meaning. Because at the end of the day, success without meaning is just noise. It's impressive, but it's empty. She filled the emptiness I didn't even know was there, not by completing me, but by showing me what a complete life actually looks like. It looks like balance. It looks like presence. It looks like someone to share the wins with and someone to process the losses with. It looks like partnership in the truest sense. And I'm not letting that go. Not for a deal, not for an opportunity, not for anything. Because I've learned the hard way. You can rebuild a business, you can pivot a strategy, you can recover from failure, but you can't recover from losing the person who made you feel alive. Let me tell you what changes. When you stop treating love like a project and start treating it like a practice. I used to approach relationships the same way I approached business. Set a goal, create a strategy, execute, optimize. But love doesn't work that way. You can't hack intimacy. You can't automate connection. You can't scale presence. You have to show up every single day, even when you don't feel like it, even when it's inconvenient, even when there's no immediate return on investment. That's the practice. And it's humbling because I'm used to being good at things. I'm used to figuring out systems and mastering them. But love isn't a system, it's a dance. And you can't control the rhythm. You have to feel it. You have to respond. You have to let someone else lead sometimes, even when every instinct tells you to take control. She taught me how to follow, how to surrender, not in a weak way, in a powerful way, because surrendering to love means trusting that you don't have to carry everything alone. That partnership isn't about division of labor, it's about multiplication of strength. When I'm with her, I'm not half of a whole. I am more than I am alone. Not because she completes me, because she amplifies me. She sees potential I didn't know I had. She believes in versions of me I haven't become yet. And that belief, it makes me want to rise. Not for applause, for her, for us. But here's the part that messed me up. Rising for someone else requires you to define what rising actually means. And I had to confront the fact that my old definition was broken. I thought rising meant earning more, achieving more, building bigger, going faster, VI and I. She made me realize rising means becoming more present, more patient, more honest, more human. And that's harder than any business challenge I've ever faced. Because being human means admitting when you're wrong. It means apologizing without defensiveness. It means having conversations you'd rather avoid because avoidance creates distance and distance kills connection. I've had to have those conversations, the uncomfortable ones, the ones where I had to own my patterns, my fear of intimacy disguised as ambition, my tendency to retreat into work when emotions got too real, my habit of prioritizing everything urgent over everything important. She called me on it, gently, but firmly. And I could have gotten defensive. I could have made excuses. I could have blamed the pressure, the timing, the demands of building something meaningful. But I didn't, because I finally understood something. The most meaningful thing I'll ever build is this: us, the relationship that makes everything else worth doing. So I listened. I sat with the discomfort of being seen so clearly, and I made a choice. I chose growth over ego. I chose partnership over pride. I chose presence over performance. And that choice, it's not a one-time thing. It's a daily recommitment. Some days are easy. Some days being present feels natural, effortless, like breathing. Other days? Other days are a fight against distraction, against old habits, against the voice that says you can deal with this later. You have more important things to do. But nothing is more important than this. Nothing. I know that now, and knowing it changes how I move. I protect our time like I used to protect my calendar. I prioritize our conversations like I used to prioritize strategy meetings. I invest in our connection like I used to invest in opportunities. Not because I have to, because I want to. Because I finally learned that the best investment you can make isn't in markets or businesses or assets. It's in the people who make life worth living. Have you ever stopped long enough to realize who those people are for you? Most of us are so busy chasing the next thing that we neglect the current thing, the person sitting across from us, the moment unfolding right now, the opportunity to connect deeply instead of moving quickly. I was that person, moving so fast I missed everything that mattered. She slowed me down, not by force, by example. She lives in the present in a way I'd forgotten was possible. She notices things, small things. The way light hits the room, the sound of rain, the taste of coffee, the weight of silence. And she doesn't just notice, she savors. That was foreign to me. I was always 3 steps ahead, planning, strategizing, anticipating, never just here. But when you're with someone who's fully present, you have two choices. You can stay in your head and miss them, or you can join them in the moment and remember what it feels like to be alive. I chose the second option, and it's changing me from the inside out. I'm noticing things now, not just with her, but everywhere. I'm tasting my food instead of mindlessly eating. I'm hearing music instead of using it as background noise. I'm seeing people instead of looking past them. I'm awake. For the first time in years, I'm actually awake. And it's because she woke me up. Not by telling me I was asleep, by showing me what being awake looks like. It looks like curiosity, like wonder, like approaching each day as if it has something new to teach you, like treating people as if they matter, not because of what they can do for you, but because they exist. That's the lens she sees the world through. And the more time I spend with her, the more I see through it too. But here's what surprised me. This shift didn't make me less ambitious. It made me more intentional. I still want to build. I still want to create. I still want to leave a mark on the world. But now I'm building with clarity. I'm creating with purpose. I'm leaving a mark that aligns with who I actually am, not who I think I should be. And who I actually am is someone who values connection over conquest. Someone who believes that the richest life isn't measured in achievements. It's measured in moments. Moments where you feel fully alive, fully seen, fully connected. She gives me those moments every single day. Sometimes they're big. A conversation that shifts everything. A realization that changes my perspective. A decision we make together that aligns our futures. But most of the time, they're small. A look that says more than words could. A touch that grounds me when I'm spiraling. A laugh that reminds me not everything has to be so serious. Those small moments, they're everything. Because life isn't lived in milestones, it's lived in minutes. And if you're not present for the minutes, you miss the life. I almost missed mine. I was so focused on the destination that I forgot to experience the journey. So obsessed with becoming someone that I forgot to be someone. She reminded me. She keeps reminding me. And I'm grateful. Deeply, profoundly grateful. Not just for her, but for what she's shown me about myself, about what I'm capable of when I stop running and start rooting, when I stop performing and start connecting, when I stop chasing validation and start creating meaning. Meaning doesn't come from external success. It comes from internal alignment, from knowing that the life you're living matches the values you hold, that the person you're becoming is someone you respect, that the relationships you're nurturing are ones that make you better. She makes me better, not by changing me, by loving me in a way that makes me want to change myself. That's the difference. That's the thing most people don't understand about transformational love. It doesn't fix you. It inspires you to fix yourself. It doesn't complete you. It motivates you to become more complete. It doesn't save you. It empowers you to save yourself while knowing you're not alone in the process. That's what we're doing. We're growing together, not at the same pace, not in the same ways, but in the same direction, toward presence, toward truth, toward a life that feels like ours, not one we borrowed from someone else's blueprint. And that life, it's not perfect. It's not polished. It's not something you put on a highlight reel. When it's real, it's honest, it's ours. And that's worth more than anything I could build alone. So let me tell you what I see when I think about the future now. I don't see umpires. I don't see accolades. I don't see my name on buildings or headlines or history books. I see mornings. I see her. I see the life we're creating where success isn't loud. It's quiet. Where legacy isn't what people say about you after you're gone. It's how you made people feel while you were here. That's the future I'm building now, not alone with her. And it's not the future I imagined 5 years ago. Back then, I thought the peak was achievement, reaching some summit where I could finally exhale and say, I made it. But that summit doesn't exist because there's always another mountain, another goal, another thing to prove. She made me realize I was climbing the wrong mountains. The real summit, it's peace, it's presence. It's waking up next to someone who knows all your flaws and chooses you anyway. It's building something that doesn't require applause because it's already fulfilling. It's living in a way that when you close your eyes at night, you don't think about what you didn't do. You think about who you did it with. That's what I want. That's what we're creating. A life that doesn't need external validation because it's internally aligned. A partnership that doesn't compete with the world. It creates its own world. A love that doesn't burn out in passion. It builds slowly, steadily, into something unshakable. But here's what I need you to understand. This didn't just happen. I didn't stumble into this. I chose it. Every single day, I choose it. I choose her over the late night work sessions that can wait until morning. I choose us over the opportunities that sound impressive but feel empty. I choose presence over productivity. Not because productivity doesn't matter, but because presence matters more. And that choice, it's made me sharper, more focused, more effective. Because when you know what you're working for, when you have someone who makes the work meaningful, you stop wasting time on things that don't align. You cut through the noise. You prioritize ruthlessly. You build with intention. I'm building with intention now. And the intention is this: create a life worth living, not worth posting, not worth bragging about, worth living. It means protecting my energy. It means saying no to things that drain me so I can say yes to things that fill me. It means recognizing that time is the only resource I can't get back and refusing to spend it on anything that doesn't serve the life I'm trying to create. She's part of that life, the center of it, really. Not because I've made her responsible for my happiness, but because she's the person I want to share my happiness with. The person I want beside me when things go right and when things go wrong. The person whose opinion matters more than the crowd's, whose presence matters more than the spotlight. That's partnership, real partnership. Not codependency, not losing yourself in someone else, but finding yourself more clearly because someone sees you so fully. She sees me, and I see her. And together, we're building something neither of us could build alone. Wait, let me paint you a picture. 5 years from now, I don't want to look back and see a list of accomplishments. I want to look back and see moments. The morning she laughed so hard at something stupid I said that coffee came out of her nose. The night we sat on the floor because we were too tired to make it to the couch. And we talked until 3 a.m. about everything and nothing. The time we failed at something together. And instead of blaming each other, we looked at each other and said, okay, what's next? Those moments? That's the legacy I'm after. Because here's the truth. Nobody remembers your resume at your funeral. They remember how you made them feel. They remember the time you gave them, the presents you offered, the love you shared. And I want to be remembered as someone who loved deeply, who showed up fully, who chose people over possessions, connection over status, meaning over metrics. She's teaching me how to do that, not through lectures, through example. She doesn't just talk about values, she lives them. She doesn't just say, people matter. She treats them like they matter. She doesn't just promise presence, she delivers it consistently, patiently, generously. NAB. And watching her live that way has challenged me to do the same. To stop hiding behind ambition and start showing up in relationships. To stop using busyness as an excuse and start creating space for what matters. To stop performing for approval and start being real for connection. That's the man I'm becoming. Not because I have to, because I want to. Because she makes me want to be better. Not for her, but for me. For the version of myself I'm proud of. The version that doesn't just build things, but builds people up. The version that doesn't just achieve, but connects. Connection is the game now. And I'm all in. But I need to be honest with you. This isn't easy. Choosing presence in a world that rewards distraction. Choosing depth in a culture that celebrates surface. Choosing one person in a society that tells you to keep your options open. It's countercultural. It's uncomfortable. It requires you to go against every message you've been sold about success and happiness and fulfillment. But it's worth it because shallow wins don't fill deep voids. Surface level success doesn't create soul level satisfaction. And no amount of achievement compensates for the emptiness of being unknown. She knows me, truly knows me. And being known, being fully seen and still fully loved, that's the thing I didn't know I was searching for my entire life. Now that I have it, I'm protecting it. Fiercely, intentionally, without apology. That means boundaries. It means saying no to things that threaten our peace. It means prioritizing our relationship over other people's expectations. It means building a life that works for us, not for the audience. And the life we're building is beautiful, not because it's perfect, because it's ours. It's built on late night conversations and early morning coffee, on hard discussions and soft apologies, on choosing each other even when it's difficult, especially when it's difficult. Because love isn't just the easy moments, it's the hard ones. The ones where you're both exhausted and frustrated, and you still choose to stay, to work through it, to believe that what you're building is worth the discomfort of growth. We're growing together. And that growth is creating something I never thought possible. A relationship that doesn't drain me. It fuels me. A partnership that doesn't limit me. It expands me. A love that doesn't complete me. It complements me. She's not my other half. She's my partner, my equal, my mirror, my challenge, my comfort, my home. And when I think about forever, I don't think about some distant concept. I think about her. I think about more mornings, more conversations, more laughter, more growth, more life. That's what forever means to me. Not a guarantee that nothing will change, but a commitment that no matter what changes, we'll face it together. Together. That word used to scare me. Now it grounds me. Because I spent so long believing I had to do everything alone, that asking for help was weakness, that needing someone was failure, but needing someone isn't failure. It's human. And pretending you don't need anyone, that's not strength. That's isolation disguised as independence. She broke through that isolation. She showed me that interdependence isn't weakness. It's wisdom. That leaning on someone doesn't make you less, it makes you more. That sharing your life doesn't diminish it, it enriches it. So here's what I want to say to you. If you're reading this and you found someone who makes you question everything, who challenges you to grow, who sees you fully, who makes you want to be present, don't let fear win. Don't let the voice that says it's too risky or you're not ready or maybe later rob you of the thing that will transform your life. Choose now. Choose presence. Choose love. Choose the person who makes you feel alive. Because life is too short to spend it climbing mountains that don't matter. Life is too precious to waste it on things that look impressive but feel empty. Build something real with someone real and watch how everything else falls into place around that foundation. That's what I'm doing. That's what we're doing. And to her, if you're reading this, thank you. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for staying. Thank you for teaching me that the bravest thing I can do isn't build an empire. It's lets you in. Yeah, I'm all in with you, for you, beside you. And now, tomorrow, and every day after that. This is the life I choose. This is the love I choose. You. Always you.